Welcome back, everybody, to the Code of the Spiritual Warrior. We are now on episode 5, the power of vulnerability. It's one of my favorite parts of the code and something that comes up on retreat a lot. You saw me allude to it in the Halloween newsletter. What do I mean by the power of vulnerability? Warriors are very dedicated to being as vulnerable, as open, as transparent as possible. And they can do that because they have a little bit of a knowing of the rule. The rule or principle is that we create our reality moment to moment with our thinking. Now, what I mean by a knowing is that they've had a little bit of an insight about it, a sight from within as opposed to an intellectual understanding. Because most of us understand that, but then really knowing it inside can be a much different experience. Most people don't want to be vulnerable. Let me show you how these dots connect. Most people don't want to be vulnerable because they're afraid of being hurt, of course. They don't want to be exposed because they're afraid of somebody hurting them. But if you knew that you could experience that person's negativity or abusiveness or whatever it is, any way you want with the creative use of your thinking, then you would no longer be afraid to be vulnerable. You see how that works together? So this is something that warriors really embrace because they see the power of vulnerability. I think maybe one of the most powerful places that can really help you is in a relationship. Is that when you're transparent with your partner, you're able to honestly express yourselves and able to get into a deeper, intimate relationship instead of holding back your feelings because you're afraid of being hurt, as opposed to holding back your true self because you're afraid that you might be made wrong, right? And then we've all had the experience where somebody has said something hurtful and we were hurt by it, or we chose thoughts that created the feeling of hurt, and then a week later, or a day later, or 2 hours later, suddenly we have a whole new set of thoughts about what that person did, and then we see it with compassion or understanding or love. We see that that person was in a low mood in that moment, and they really didn't mean it. So that's why warriors can allow their vulnerability to flow up. When you're vulnerable, all sorts of amazing things happen. This comes up a lot in my life. Let's just say with clients. I mean, most clients know I'm very transparent about my own journey. Because I know that can really help them, because that's what helped me with my teachers. They were very transparent with me and always sharing stories about themselves, never trying to put up a front that that they had it all figured out. Far from it. I think it's very important for spiritual teachers or authors or mentors to really share their own journey of making mistakes, right? And when you're vulnerable, I have discovered that people feel safe with you. People feel comfortable with you. You're able to allow your authentic self to flow out more. And that's something I'm going to talk a lot about in the coming weeks. It's another part of the code, is the dedication to being as authentic as possible. That's a word I like very much, and could be used. One could translate it to mean true self. Vulnerability gives you a softness. It gives you a sense of being able, there's no interference between you and the rest of the world. You're able to see people clearer because there's no thoughts involved. I always remember, Sid Banks used to talk about you can see the truth anywhere. I've written a couple stories about this. That for some reason at Safeway here in town, I keep getting these big insights. I keep seeing the truth. I remember I was waiting in line and I looked up and I saw this young man who was checking people out. He was about 19 years old. It looked to me to be his first job. There was something about his whole way of checking people, each item. He seemed to be so present. He seemed to be so focused and really enjoying his first job. It was the truth just flowed up. And because I'm vulnerable, I was able to see it, able to be impacted by it. Because if you're not vulnerable, brothers and sisters, and you're caught up in a guarded position, and you all know what I'm talking about, then you don't get to see other people's truth, other people's humanity, other people's vulnerability. Isn't that interesting? And listen, we all know that we have lives where bad things have happened to us. and we pull back, we get behind a wall, we get guarded, defensive, and put barriers up between us and the rest of the world. You know, recently I was talking to a father who has a little bit of a wall up between he and his kids, and that was just because of the way he was raised. He doesn't want that wall there, because sometimes it's something inherited. But warriors are very, very dedicated to being transparent. I think this isn't, you know, my old girlfriend would tell you that she would chuckle. She says, Greg is one of the most transparent cats that I've ever met. I just have no problem sharing my feelings. Because no matter what the response is, of course, I feel power in the act of being transparent, of expressing myself. Of course, it's in a healthy and kind way. And again, I do it because each year, each week, I have a little deeper knowing that my thinking, I will always get the experience of my thinking, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter how negative or low or just unhealthy or coming at me. I can see it any way I want. I'm taking advantage of my own power of free will to choose whatever thoughts I want about something that's coming at me, because the quality of my feelings will always equal the quality of my thoughts. This is so important, brothers and sisters. I really hope this encourages you to take down the walls. Feel the power of showing your heart to people and not getting concerned about it getting trampled on, because that's your choice. Somebody does something icky, you can see that in a way that with compassion and love, and not connecting to it, not taking it personally, because you understand that that person said that icky thing. It really didn't have anything to do with you. It had to do with the relationship they're having with their own thinking. Does that make sense, guys? I want to talk more about that too. So this is a little bit of a long one. I guess because I have a lot of passion about this, this comes up all the time on retreat. People have just pulled back inside of themselves, and they're just afraid to express themselves, to speak out, whatever it is. And it's a shame, and it's sad. I want everybody to just open up and show their heart and show their originality. I think that in the last 10 years, for whatever reason, is that so many people are showing up like each other. We're losing our uniqueness. And that's why I'm going to talk more about authenticity and just being yourself. Well, I hope this was helpful. I really appreciate everybody's emails on the other codes that I've been talking about. And if you're interested in getting into something more, directly with me on this, you can always email me for an application for the Spiritual Warrior online program. You can come in for a month or a couple months, and we can get into, we're going to do phone, and you'll have tutorials and videos and teleseminars, and we can really get into this if this is something that's resonating with you. Okay, everybody? It's getting a little chilly out here. Finally, I'm very excited. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you again. Aho! Aho!